check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Good morning.
Good morning.
If the viewers were only privy to our pre-show engagement,
I told Michael Moore to buck up Buttercup. Michael
told her
Moore,
don't ever call me Buttercup again.
Michael Moore, I said I will call you Buttercup all day. And then we had to have a sideline. Should we show her? Let's just show them. Come on.
Oh,
Let's start the
Dear
episode with
Lord Jesus.
one of my favorite scenes from New Girl, all day. And if this doesn't brighten up your day, I don't know what is going to, Buttercup, but I think we need to share this. I think the people need to see that this is some good stuff. Let's start.
One of my sister wives, Mrs. Schmidt and Mrs. Schmidt. Oh! All right, time for delts.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I'm slowly regretting this.
Definition is for chicks, man. All right, it's all about size. I mean, look at the mass on this bitch.
Stupid.
What's your calf situation like?
Calves? What's these ankle circles? Look at that. Some donkey raises? 1, 2. No. Wheelbarrow.
What's a wheelbarrow?
Wheelbarrow. Every kid knows what a wheelbarrow is. Put your hands on the ground. Hands on the ground.
Want to see some calf raises?
Hey, all right. Turn them around.
Yeah, all right.
Faster. Come on, man. Really work those
All right.
calves.
Look at this, Winston. I can do this all day, man.
Yeah, I got it all day,
I do
man.
this all day. I don't even have to think about it.
That's awesome. Keep going.
All day.
Yeah, I got it all day,
I do this
too.
all day, Winston.
Hey, how long can you do this for?
I can do this all day.
Yeah, I got it all day, too.
Winston!
Why are you yelling at
I'll
me?
do this all day. I'll do it all day, Winston. Oh, Winston.
Listen.
Do it all day, Winston.
See, you gotta start the day like that. All day, Buttercup.
Which one are you in that video?
Oh wait, hold on. It's still going. I gotta find it and stop it. Which one is it? Oh, no.
I'm pretty
Wait,
sure that
hold on,
I'm
hold
Winston.
Hold on. Okay, there, I got it. Don't worry. I'm Schmidt for sure.
one
Did you
is
see
Schmidt?
did you see my ankle circles? Did you see
Oh,
my calf
You're
raises?
the one actually doing the wheelbarrow.
I'm the wheelbarrow. I can do this all day.
Yes, again, I'm Winston looking at you like you are completely and utterly without brain cells.
So today I saw that, remember we were questioning mandates, right? Everything's about the mandates these days. And you're saying Kyrie is not getting vaccinated, right? But New York is full mandate central. And today I just saw on Twitter, where is it? Let's take a peek.
Yes, he's not being allowed to participate in team activities.
Yeah, let's show it real quick. There it is. NBA's Kyrie Irving will not play or practice with the Nets until he is vaccinated. GM Sean Marks announced. So I tweeted out, I was like, oh yeah, that totally makes sense because he's old and he's unhealthy and he's at risk, right? Oh, wait. Like, what a system. And then, one of fellow poker guys said, it sounds like splitting hairs, but the GM didn't say this. He said, we don't employ part-time players, which Kyrie would be if he only played road games, not in New York where mandate is. We'd welcome Kyrie back when he's able to play full-time. Same result, but not same words. Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's just the way you spin things, right? And that's what I said to him. I said, those are nice words. That's great, but isn't the intention the same? Like, he has to be injected or else. And that's basically what they're saying. You get injected or get out.
Which part do you find to be the spin?
The way he's saying it. It's like, well, we're not telling him he has to get vaccinated.
We're
just saying that if he's only going to be a part-time player, he can't play with us. But of course, that's exactly what they're saying, Mike. Really, that's exactly what they're saying. And also, I said it seems extreme when many states like California have made exceptions for all basketball players and all actors and all. Not that I agree with any of that shit. It's all ridiculous, but that's what the hypocrisy of all of this, right? Our states, even Canada, who was full blown mandate central, made exemptions, right? So I mean, just all this stuff is just
that's not an example of hypocrisy in New York. That's actually them adhering to the actual mandate. Where's the hypocrisy?
The hypocrisy is how they're going about it. They're saying they're not doing it because of the mandate. Of course they are. Of course they are.
That's
what he's saying.
The team wants him to play.
Mm-hmm.
The team is not for him not playing. They're paying the guy $400,000 a game. He would literally be sitting out 41 games of the season. I actually fully agree with how New York is handling it.
Hear me out.
The team, not the city.
Yeah. And hear me out. We could just not have to deal with these mandates.
Yeah, but those we're talking about separate issues right now. If you want to talk about the mandates, no, I'm not for New York or any other state mandating that anyone has to get vaccinated. But since there are mandates, then I'm actually pretty proud of how the New York Nets are handling the situation, and I guess the NBA, and I guess New York, because nobody's making an exception for Kyrie, which I absolutely thought they were going to do. I leaned on the side of them like just being completely hypocritical and
me
saying,
too.
hey,
Me too.
Yeah, but they didn't. So I honestly have zero problem with any aspect of the story.
No, I actually like it. I hope that what we'll do is force them to rethink it, because if he's not going to budge, then they're not going to
rethink that for Kyrie Irving,
well,
not the city.
Here's somebody else responded to the same point and said, just wait until you hear that unvaccinated players from opposing teams can still play in the arena. Is that true? I don't know if that's true.
Not true. That's not
what
true
somebody responded on mine. So I don't know if that's true, but again, it's just, there's just, why these even have to be a thing, like, so we don't have to discuss this is beyond me. But yeah, I mean,
so let me ask you this question, because I actually this kind of goes back to our original sort of conversation on the whole thing months ago, in which I told you that there are consequences for your actions, right? So we can't split hairs over what the government and what the law is saying, right? Because there's several laws out there that I think are absolutely ridiculous, all the way down to what we talked about with like having to wear a seatbelt, right? Mm-hmm. But we have to do it because if we don't, we get tickets and so forth, and we have to pay fines because we're, not wearing our seatbelt, right?
Again, I think that's where what we're talking about is the idea that we have to do it. Isn't this where we talk about it so that we can change those things? Right? Like just say, we just have to do it because our government says it, so we have to do it.
That's not my thought right now. So
okay,
we can talk about that for sure all day long if you want to, but that's not my thought right now.
Okay.
My thought is simply, like I told you, there were going to be consequences for people's actions. And I think that's actually a perfect segue for a question that I actually had for you. So the governor of Texas has banned mandates, right? Even for private businesses. Mm-hmm. So I would love to know how someone as freedom-loving as yourself feels about the governor telling private businesses what they can and can't do.
No, I think it's both. They're both two extremes. I think, and that's the same thing that you and I have been talking about in government in general for a long time. And this is what is happening, and whether it's perpetuated through our media or which I think it is, of course, because extremes sell, right? We're seeing the two extremes, whereas most of us are here, right? But everything we're seeing, every policy that is coming out is from the extreme. And maybe because all the mandates that come out on, the extreme left, right? So now the right is coming out to try to balance, but they're both extremes. They're both unethical. They're both not in my eyes what the government should be doing.
The left wasn't affecting Texas in any way, shape, or form.
The left was affecting their federal mandates over New York. They were enforcing
but they weren't enforcing anything that.
Of course they are. They're the reason why Kyrie can't play. They're the ones who made those mandates.
I'm talking about Texas. I'm talking about Texas right now. Texas was not enforcing any.
I understand, but what I'm saying is that the reason why you see this come out because there's federal mandates, correct? Those are federal mandates that are for businesses. So number one, you say, well,
No,
private, but
No,
yes.
they're all states. They're
No,
individual
that's not-
states.
that is-
What's the federal mandate for businesses?
That's why Southwest right now, they're in the news. They say there's not walking out. It has nothing to do with mandates.
Okay,
but they had to
that's
cancel.
conjecture. Southwest. I saw the CEO of Southwest Airlines this morning in an interview, and he absolutely dispels that myth that they're all walking out based on vaccination stuff.
I think that's
So we should only talk about stuff that we actually have concrete
I'm
information
answering
on.
your question though about federal mandates. The reason why Southwest is mandating that their company is having the vaccine is because of a federal mandate. So now to get back to your original question so now these mandates are very, very extreme in one way. So now you say, well, is it okay for this governor of Texas? No, it's just extreme in the other way. I think we're seeing extremes now because we're not balanced.
No, but
I
I
don't-
was speaking to the fact that you said that the governor of Texas is balancing out what the extreme left is doing. And I'm saying, in what way, shape, or form was the left affecting Texas?
Because federally, that's what I'm telling you.
And
there
I'm
are-
asking you, how federally are they affecting Texas? Because
Federally,
Southwest is not a good example, because
of course
Southwest
it is.
an
Their
airline-
whole their
Southwest
hub
an airline
is
that-
in Dallas.
Southwest is an airline. No, it's not. It's in Florida.
No, it's
South-
in Texas.
It's absolutely in Florida.
I just saw it. I just read it.
I
Mike,
just heard the
before this.
CEO of Southwest say that all of their flights, the majority of their flights go through Florida, and that's why there was an issue.
Yep, their corporate office is in Dallas.
Oh, their
It's in
corporate
Dallas,
office, not
Texas.
the
Yes.
hub. The
Their
hub
Dallas is in Dallas, Texas. And
okay, the
I have
corporate offices might be there, but
so here's the thing, Mike. So you watch the mainstream media, and I do not. I read what all the people
watch
are
and
saying in
read
the
from
background.
many different sources.
So this is why you and I are going to
But
think
it doesn't
differently
matter
on this.
where I'm getting the information from. If the CEO was on Alex Jones's show or on Good Morning America, what difference does it make? Because he's speaking for his company.
And what is him speaking have to because
Because
he
you said
said
that-
it's
you
not
said
vaccine
that-
mandates.
you
So okay,
said
let me
that-
see this, Mike. I want to show you something.
Said
What
that
you don't
the
realize.
vaccine, the reason why pilots are walking out and stuff has to do with the vaccines. And I'm telling you that that's not any official information coming from
Of course
Southwest
it's not.
Airlines.
Of course
that's,
it's not.
That's what the people who want you to believe in anti-vax and mandates and issues want you to think. I'm telling you that the CEO
and
of
I'm
Southwest
telling you
says the exact
that
opposite.
the mainstream, of course, and I'm telling you the mainstream media wants you to think that it is not about mandates, and it's not.
Wait,
And
but
so you
what
see
does
how
that
we're
have to do
coming
with the mainstream media, Nicole? I'm talking about specifically the CEO of the airline we're discussing absolutely contradicts what you are saying right now.
Okay.
What would be his
Michael
motivation in
Moore.
doing that?
Over 1,000 flights were canceled yesterday.
I get that.
They said it was due to weather. It was 70 degrees. There was no wind. There was no rain. There was no snow. There was
Whether where?
in Florida, in Texas.
I
Michael
actually didn't
Moore,
hear
so-
anything about Florida.
okay, so
I mean weather.
So, Mike,
Weather
this is what
being
I'm
an issue.
saying. You have to think beyond because I saw the CEO and he
No,
said
but-
this, it can't be it. Like,
No,
really?
it's not about thinking deeper. Anyone can come up with any idea they want based on sort of which way they lean anyway. I'm just saying that we can't talk about the cancellations of Southwest flights being attributed to vaccine walkouts without saying this is my opinion, because that is your opinion. That's not a fact in record. That's not anything that anyone has gone on record and saying that is involved with Southwest Airlines. This is all just conjecture. That's all it really is.
And
So I'm not even saying that I necessarily disagree with what you're saying in terms of that being a possibility, but I am saying we can't talk about it like it's fact. And that's what's going on with all of this COVID stuff
Well,
and the
here-
vaccines
well,
and
it's-
non-vaccines, is people are talking about stuff as though it is fact what they are saying, as opposed to it being their opinion.
Well, and Michael Moore, that's exactly the case with basically every single news article that we see. And that's the
Oh, I
issue.
don't know.
It's
about
like,
that.
yeah,
That's-
well, that's the thing. I'm saying you're giving it because it's on the mainstream media. You're giving
I'm
this
not
all
giving you
importance and
anything because-
experts.
No. You're not either not hearing me or I'm not conveying myself articulately here. What I'm telling you has nothing to do with the mainstream media or any source of media. I'm simply saying that if we don't have a fact, if we don't know that it's a fact, then we have to say, this is what we think. This is our opinion.
Mhm.
I'm not sure why you think that has anything to do with the mainstream media, but all I'm saying is I saw an interview with the CEO
I saw the
of
same one.
Southwest Airlines this morning, and he absolutely denied anything having to do with vaccine mandates. And I honestly would love to know what his agenda would be in denying that. Why wouldn't he just say our pilots are walking out because they don't want to get vaccinated?
That's a good question, Mike.
So that's all I'm saying. So again, so I don't know where I'm getting my news from or whatever matters. I just don't understand the mainstream media narrative. Like what does that have to do with anything we're talking about?
It's unfortunate you think that after all this last 7 months of us talking about this, but it does matter. It 100% does matter, because you're going to see what they want you to see. And
what does it matter in
but
terms of this conversation is what I'm asking you. I'm not
it
talking
doesn't.
about
You
the
took
entire narrative of the
my
thing.
idea. I was explaining how mandates were federal, and you took that part of it and you blew it up. I wasn't even trying to talk about that part. What I was trying to tell you is that there are federal mandates for businesses. So again, you're saying businesses should make their own choice, but they're not making their own choice. Even in that same interview that you saw of that CEO, he said, I don't like mandates, but I was told to do it, so I do. That's exactly what he said. I saw it.
I'm asking you questions and I'm making statements based on what you're saying. And I still haven't gotten what I feel is a clear answer on what are you saying are federal mandates regarding business? Because Southwest Airlines is not a good example, because airlines fall under a federal umbrella because they are federally operated. I'm saying, talk to me about McDonald's or something like that, right? Talk to me about something that is the same in Los Angeles as it is in Salt Lake City, as it is in Indianapolis. What federal mandate for business is being applied?
Well, you can't say, so what I'm trying to show is, you were asking me, is it okay for the governor of Texas to make this mandate that they cannot, right, have mandates, a mandate against mandates, right? You can't say, well, you can't compare it to federal. I have nothing else to compare it to. He's coming out with that mandate because of the federal mandate, right? There's no other federal part of the government that they can counteract this federal. That's why he's doing it. He's doing it because of federal mandates.
No, Nicole, listen. The governor of Texas is telling private business in Texas, you cannot require your employees to have to be vaccinated, right? I'm asking you, what employers we're already having people being vaccinated in Texas that say weren't having people vaccinated in Mississippi or something like that? Though there's no federal mandate on private business for anyone to be vaccinated. All the mandates that come from private business are on the private business. They are the ones saying our employees have to be vaccinated. There's nothing from the government saying that employees have to be vaccinated outside of government employers. That's what I'm trying to get across.
No, you're wrong.
Tell me the business.
Biden came out and said every business with 100 or more employees has to have a vaccine mandate. 100%. What do you mean they don't have one?
I'm not aware. I'm not aware of that.
Go and Google it.
I'm not aware of that.
That was last week. Biden, maybe 2 weeks ago now. Biden came out federally and said, every business, 100 or more, maybe it was a month ago now. I mean, it's been so long. This is why these mandates are here. You keep saying like, oh, there's consequences. These businesses can do this. These businesses are not choosing to do this. They're also not standing against it. What makes me very upset for this CEO to get on TV and be like, well, I don't like them, but the federal made me do it. Fuck you. Don't do it. This is your business. But Biden came on TV and said, any business over 100 employees will have a vaccine mandate. Our government is forcing that. That is not a business's choice. So to say, oh, you have the consequences. No, fuck that. Like these businesses aren't, this is not a natural free system. This is like something a dictator on high decreeing what a whole business, all the businesses have to do. The same thing they've been doing for 20 months. You got to stay home. You got to not work. You got to lose your job. This stuff has to stop. So is what he's doing in Texas right? No, I believe that's an overreach of government as well, making a mandate against mandates. But he's doing it for a reason. He's trying to balance all of this shit.
So actually what you're referring to was actually businesses that were government contractors, not private business in general. So that's misinformation.
No, it's not.
Biden's, I'm reading it right now.
You have to go watch his speech, and then go.
Well, I'm reading I'm reading exactly what was
it's
put
not
out
true.
in that speech.
Almost every single airline has now mandated it based on that. Almost every single hospital now based on that. Almost corporate offices in major cities have now based on that. Anybody with over 100 employees based on that.
The only industries that were covered under that are healthcare employers, so obviously hospitals, and government contractors. So anyone, again, and I think that's what I had said earlier, is those involved with government. Yes, there definitely are mandates, but his proposal or his edict was not inclusive of just all business in general. That's not accurate.
No,
that's not accurate. It's still up to private companies whether or not they make their employees get vaccinated.
Yeah. Okay. So here you can look right here. Like it's even just on the plain White House, the Department of Labor's Occupational Safety and Health Administrator. So this is what he did in order to get around it, because he really doesn't have the authority to enforce these kind of mandates on business, right? Businesses should have their own choice. But he's going around it. He's circumventing that choice. Same thing how we're like circumventing the First Amendment by them issuing to social media how they should censor shit. Okay, he's circumventing it by having the Department of Labor's Occupational Safety and Health Administration, having OSHA develop a rule that requires it, right? So instead of it being him, he's having OSHA require it. He's the one who came out and gave the speech.
What
he is the one that made the mandate.
And where?
Right on the White House, gov.play. President Biden's COVID-19 plan from the White House. The department, OSHA is developing a rule that will require all employers, not government, all employers with 100 or more employees to ensure their workforce is fully vaccinated, or require any workers who remain unvaccinated to produce a negative test result on at least a weekly basis.
Oh, so they don't have to actually get vaccinated then. They just have to show that they're not positive for COVID.
Yeah. So anyway,
I just think that there's
reconsider your question now when you're asking me because you think now this guy is overreaching, when you didn't even realize the overreach that our entire government has had this entire time.
Well, no, that's not accurate either. I mean, I completely realize what overreach is there, but I feel like it's ridiculously hypocritical for people on the right to talk about, how much they love their freedom and all that kind of stuff, and how they love the free market and all of that, but they feel that like they can tell private business, you can't do this. I mean, that's just laughable to me. I just think the whole thing.
Me too, but the thing is you accept it so easily from the other side because, okay.
What do I accept from the other side? What is it that I accept? Because you're big on telling me what I know.
When I just kind of explain to you how this has happened, like even for someone who watches the news, you think, well, you just kind of explained it away.
Was not accurate. That's what I'm trying to get across to you.
It is accurate. You're just now seeing it. It's 100 or more employees.
I'm not seeing it. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I'm still not seeing that what you're saying is accurate, because you just read that people don't have to get vaccinated, but they do at least have to show that they have a negative test. So what you said is not accurate. So I'm not seeing anything. So you can't say that you're seeing this, because I'm not seeing it. And you can't say that I get my information from the mainstream media because I get my information from all sources. And I listen to all sources and I formulate my own opinions. And that's why I look at something like the governor of Texas and I say, wow, that's so funny that you believe that you can tell private business what to do, but your whole thing as a Republican is to be, we love freedom and we love free market and we love free market capital, capitalism and all this kind of stuff, but you're telling private companies what they can and can't do. So I really want to see, like, if a company like Tesla was to say, hey, you know what, we changed our mind, we're not coming to Texas, how the governor would handle that, or what they're going to do and they listed all the companies that were in Texas, like huge companies that were based in Texas. If those companies were to, like, I don't know, pull out and they didn't get the tax revenue from them and all that, I wonder how principled the governor would be at that point. And would he say, you know what, yeah, you cannot tell or you don't have the freedom to decide how you want to handle your company. I just think it's all ridiculous. It's all ridiculous. And I see on the left where stuff is ridiculous too. Like I said, the whole thing in New York to me is crazy that you have to, and what's going to happen here in LA is crazy. Having to show a vaccine card to go to a movie or to go out to eat or something like that. I think there's ridiculousness on both sides of the equation. But anyway, I digress.
Yeah. So I don't know what's going to happen to Kyrie, but
he's either gonna get traded or he's just gonna retire. Kyrie's the kind of person that would actually just say, I'm not going to play, or I'm going to retire for this season until things change or whatever.
I'm 100% for that. I hope he does, because that's how things change, one person at a time. And the idea that we can even still, me and you can sit here and argue about this for a mandations, whether we have them or we mandate against the mandation, whatever the fuck it is, for something that is not even necessary. Again,
I'm fully against mandates. I'm not arguing on the side of being of mandates, if that's what you're implying. I'm not arguing for mandates at all. I think mandates in this particular scenario of COVID are ridiculous, because COVID is just not impactful enough for the government to need to mandate anything. It's literally akin to mandating flu shots, because COVID is just not killing or impacting enough people adversely to need to mandate something.
Well,
now,
I mean,
again, if it was a much more aggressive disease, that was an airborne pathogen, then I would say, yeah, hell yeah, mandate it. I don't want to be sitting on a plane with someone who has a disease that can kill me.
And again, if it's more aggressive, you don't need the mandates. People are going to stay home. They're going to get a shot. They're going to do whatever.
Well, you'd hope so, but there's
there are
ridiculous people out there. People have sent their kids to school with positive COVID tests.
No.
It's like, what are you doing? That doesn't make any sense to me. But
our number one biological intensity is like self-preservation. We don't need to be told when there's true death in our face. We don't need to be told. People, like, this is why all of this is just so weird. But you said something there that's the thing, once we accept these things, and people don't understand, we're at different levels. You and I are at different levels of seeing this and accepting this. And once you start accepting these, you start to think of what's next. And I have started with vaccinations a while ago, obviously with my son, was born and was almost died from one. And just not even just that, whereas my daughter never had an issue, no big deal. But the idea of them being consistently ramped up, we talked about this before. They have something like 86 vaccinations now before they're 12, whereas you and I had like 3. And these are because there's series of them, there's 3 in one and there's 3 in another, and there's, and they get multiple at a time, and they get multiple, like five of those series, or 3 of them. All of these have ramped up in the last 20 years, ever since the Vaccine Injury Act in 1986, and when they have removed liability from Big Pharma for this, right? And you just have to consider, something people always say, like, well, there's mandates for everything. You had a mandate before to travel, and you had a mandate to go to school, but it's a big deal. Well, that's the thing, is that it is a big deal. The more it becomes, this is becoming the straw. right? For me, that's breaking the camel's back, because you start to see that, wait a second. Like, I even thought about this with my kids. Like, why are they having the chickenpox vaccine mandated? Like, why? Like, do you know that 100 children a year die from the chickenpox? 100. Like,
I mean, I didn't
wait,
even know kids still got chickenpox. I haven't seen that
what?
forever.
I mean, they, of course, because they're vaccinated now. But why is that mandated? And I even asked my pediatrician, I'm like, why do they? I mean, once you get chickenpox, you're immune for life. It's, it's robust, the immunity. Kids in our grandparents and our parents' era used to have chickenpox parties. So you'd get your kid to have it and have it young and just be done with it. And now they have this vaccination. I asked my pediatrician, I was like, why? And this was long before I thought much about vaccination, but I'm like, it seemed weird to me. It's like, why are we mandating that, like, for school? She's like, well, I'm like, it doesn't hurt kids. She's like, well, but then, they have to be a week out of school, or you have to miss a week of work. I'm like, so we're mandating an injection into our children because we're worried about a week of work or a week of school. And it just started then to not make sense to me. And slowly, each one that comes, there's this fight from some people, and like me, right, with this new one with COVID, and reality tries to normalize it and make it, well, this is just normal. Oh, you did all these other mandates and you just accepted it. Why not now? Because what do you want to be normal? Like, what's next? Like you said, the flu shot. Okay, well, if we accept COVID, 100%, it's going to be very easy for them just to mandate everyone has to get a flu shot every year. That's next, right? Easy. If we accept COVID, then we accept that. They're already talking about adding mRNA and COVID into one big flu vaccination yearly. Just like, this is what I mean. Like, it's okay for everyone who is on board with this, and you're like, yeah, I got a vaccination, I saved lives, this is what I signed up for, and you see it that way, and that's great. But you have to understand that at some point it's going to come to something where you don't see it that way and you don't agree, and you're like, wait, why am I doing this? And that's where I am right now.
You talk about it as though you and I feel differently or very differently on this thing, and we don't. As far as everything you just said, I'm not for the mandate, and I've said that. If I've said it once, I've said it 100 times on this show. I'm not for mandating COVID vaccines. I have no information about a chickenpox vaccine. I don't even know if my kids got chickenpox vaccines. Maybe they did. I got chickenpox, so obviously I wasn't vaccinated when I was a kid. So, and everyone I knew got chickenpox. I thought it was just like a rite of passage. You kind of had to get chickenpox and, get moving.
Yeah.
But I'm not for mandates I'm not for mandates on anything that takes away your choice to do with your body what you want to do with your body. That's why we had the whole talk, I think it was last week or the week before, about abortion, right? Morally or not morally, that's the wrong word. Emotionally or spiritually, I'm all for life, right? If you get pregnant in a normal fashion, right? You had sex with someone and got pregnant, but I'm not talking about incest. I'm not talking about rape, that kind of stuff. I'm talking about consensual sex between two people and they get pregnant. I'm all for keeping that life. I am equally for the woman being able to choose what she wants to do with her body. In the same way, COVID vaccines, right? Again, I've said it, I got vaccinated. My kids got vaccinated. My wife got vaccinated. But it was our choice to do so. So I'm fine with what I did and what they did and what we all did. I'm not fine with someone saying, you have to get it. I think the only sort of debate that you could kind of have, and I still would lean on the side of not forcing anyone to do it, would be with schools, right? Because kids have to get vaccinated in order to go to school so that they're not spreading communicable diseases and all this kind of stuff, right? I'm talking about beyond COVID. There's many, like you said, there's 80 something vaccines, I guess the kids get now. That's the only area I would kind of, I could probably be swayed if the argument is profound enough on whichever side. But in I would say almost every other area, and maybe like hospitals, right? So maybe like healthcare workers, that kind of thing. And again, I'm not adamant about them having to do anything, but I would at least be open to hearing an argument for why they should have to do it or why they shouldn't have to do it. But in every other area besides those two areas, at least that I can think of right now, I say people should be able to do what they want. Now, here's where you and I think, sort of diverge. I've always said there's going to be consequences for those who make the choice to not get that particular vaccine, if we're just talking about COVID, right? It's not mutually exclusive that I think, well, you shouldn't have to do it and there shouldn't be consequences. No, that's not the way, that's just not the way my mind is set up. I'm like, no, you shouldn't have to do it, but also know that there's going to be consequence. And I've told you that for months. I used to laugh about it concerning you specifically. I was like, there's going to be a time when you're going to walk out of your door and, you know, someone's going to just shoot you in the butt with a vaccine, jokingly. But I kind of saw all this coming. And in fact, I think I specifically told you they're going to make life so difficult for everyone who doesn't get it that they're just going to almost like you're going to have to get it at some point. And that's kind of at the point we are at. I don't feel bad for Kyrie Irving specifically, and I'll tell you why. Because he's playing a team sport. If he was an individual, playing an individual sport, golf, tennis, something like that, I'd be all for him saying like, I don't want the vaccine, I shouldn't have to get the vaccine, right? But you're playing a team sport in which they're paying you millions upon millions upon millions of dollars per year to win a championship. Your teammates are counting on you. And I guess maybe because I was an athlete and I sort of have a concept of what a team really is like. I just think like what he's doing is actually kind of selfish. I'm all for his right not to do it, but I'm all for the Nets' right to say, you know what, we just don't need you here then. If you're not gonna get it done for the sake of the team and everybody else on the team has done it, and like you said, he's a healthy person, the vaccine's not going to affect him anyway adversely. I mean, literally, the deaths or adverse reactions to the vaccine are far less than the deaths and adverse reactions of COVID, which are minuscule as well. But I'm just trying to say, like, there's far less chance to get hurt or injured based on the vaccine than there is if you were to get COVID. So bottom line is there's no real harm to him specifically just getting it. I understand philosophically, like he's just like, I don't want to do it. And again, I would stand right next to him and protest at the top of my lungs. He shouldn't have to do it. And I'd be whispering in his ear, but you know, there's consequences, bro. I mean, that's just where I'm at. That's just the way that I think.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you know what I think. I don't think that way. I don't think that he's selfish. I don't think it's selfish to care for your own individual rights. I think that the minute you tell somebody, no matter what you think of them, selfish or otherwise, that what they have to do with or without their body or put in or out their body, it's a slippery slope. Nobody gets to tell you what you do with your body, because that's when you do start to have laws like you have to get an abortion or you can't get an abortion or you have to give a kidney to somebody who's dying. The minute someone gets to decide what goes into or outside of your body without your consent, our freedom is gone 100%. And I don't care if you think that this is not a big deal and that he's selfish because of his team. I don't think so. I think everyone has to make their own individual decision in all cases what goes in their body, because the minute we give that up,
decision, right?
Yeah, right.
So it is his freedom. He's not losing any freedom.
Of course. That's his, and that's fine. Understand. No, what I'm talking about is mandates. So, I mean, we just switched this to something else. I'm telling you how I just disagree with that. I mean, that's fine, and we disagree. But my big thing is in mandates, and for that reason, you cannot mandate what goes into somebody's body, and that's, to me, that's what I stand for, 100%. And I think that's, like I told you before, I think that's truly it. There's no Democrat, Republican. There's no race. There's no division. There's nothing but what we create ourselves. The only thing there is in life is freedom and life. That's it. And the minute we start giving someone else a power over our body, no matter what it is, we are not free.
I hear you on that, and I don't disagree, but let me see if I can take another path towards making this super clear. Is anyone going to drag Kyrie Irving out of his house and inject him with the vaccine that you're aware of? Is this going on anywhere in America?
I am not aware of that.
Okay, neither am I. So, in my opinion, freedom has not been stripped from Kyrie or anybody else. Kyrie is merely serving consequences of his freedom.
Okay,
right?
so now let me take that to another level for you.
Before you go, just real quick, in the same way that Muhammad Ali, in the prime of his career, decided to take a principled stand against going to Vietnam because they drafted him, right? He took a principled stand and actually served jail time to not be taken to Vietnam to fight this war that he morally and philosophically did not agree with. His freedom was literally stripped from him, but his freedom of choice is what landed him in jail.
Mm-hmm.
I hear what you're saying, but what you're saying is not happening. Nobody's physical freedom is being encroached on because nobody has to get the vaccine. You only have to get the vaccine to do certain things in this society.
Well, it kind of is your freedom. If let's consider you're, the sole breadwinner for your family. You have 4 kids. You work. Your wife stays home, and now in order to continue working, you have to get this. It is encroaching on your freedom, and that's the thing of why people like me speak up in order to keep that balance. Because if there weren't people like me, the next thing would be, okay, so now you say, okay, there's consequences, and so now let me take it to the next level, like I was talking about. So now let's just say everybody is like you, and I would say not even like you say you're level-headed, you're right in the middle. Let's say a lot of people who are a lot of Californians who are hardcore, mandate everything, do this is what we do for our society. Australia, right? We all get, so let's say we're 100% on board in the world. So what's next? Okay, so now let's say, well, the mandate is that everyone with 2 healthy kidneys has to give one. We have 150,000 people that die every year because they don't receive a kidney and they're on dialysis. The mandate is you're going to lose your job. If you work at a place with 100 more people, you can't go anywhere. You can't go out anywhere except for the grocery store. You can't go to bars, restaurants, anywhere with your friends, unless you have given your healthy kidney with a system. It's a mandate. Now, how do you like those consequences? This is what I'm saying. And it sounds ridiculous to you, right? But
well, that's not in line with what I'm espousing in terms of freedom. What you just described is a lack of freedom.
It's the same thing as a mandate. No, it's not a lack of freedom.
And I'll tell you why. And this is actually a good conversation because one of us is going to leave this conversation with a bit more clarity. It's either you or me. You gave an example of the guy with 4 kids and right, he doesn't want to get vaccinated, and so therefore he's lost his job and his money and so forth. Or
he gets vaccinated, either way, but he feels.
Well, I'm just going off of your example because I want to speak to your example. Mm-hmm. Again, that particular person's freedom has not been encroached on, in my opinion, at all. What has been encroached on is his ability to have a certain quality of life. Mm-hmm. Now, if you want to talk about that, I'm 100% with you. Yeah, that dude's quality of life it sucks now because the decision that he has made is now affecting him in terms of his quality of life. Mm-hmm. His freedom is still 100%, right? Mm-hmm. Once again, in the same way that Muhammad Ali could have taken his little draft, and I guarantee they would have put him in a place in Vietnam where he was not going to be hurt. He would have not been on the front lines. They would have totally protected him as the world champion boxer. He probably would have done a year over there or something like that. He would have come home, and he knew that, and anybody else knew that. But philosophically, he was like, I'm not going to allow them to draft me because I don't want anyone to think that I even am for this war, right? So he took the quality of life consequences, mm-hmm. for his freedom of choice to not get dragged over to Vietnam. If they would have come to his house, put him in a car at gunpoint, took him to the airport, forced him on a plane and shipped him to Vietnam, this conversation you and I are having is 100% different because they have absolutely stripped him of his freedom. He didn't get stripped of freedom. He got stripped of quality of life.
Okay,
And I
so
think
we're
that's where
talking
you and I are-
semantics. Yes, we're
It's not
debating
semantics.
semantics.
It's literal. It's literal.
Okay.
Like
My suggestion about freedom is that the whole point of us living, it's so to say, well, because society doesn't physically remove you, it's not. Yes, of course, obviously. But the idea that we're living in a free society is one where it serves the vast majority of us, right? Where we feel free. Like, so yeah, of course, semantic wise, like, no, nobody's going to drag anybody to go do anything, hopefully these days, right? You hope, although they got close.
But
in
that
Australia.
has happened in certain societies.
Yes,
That's why
it has.
it's
You
not,
are correct.
It's not unprecedented for real freedom to be stripped of people. You don't have to look any further than Nazi Germany or some of even the red regimes that are around today, China, maybe Cuba, some Middle Eastern countries. So it's not far-fetched or extreme to talk about the real lack of freedom. And all I'm trying to get across is, in America, at least today, this day, there's no real lack of freedom in terms of what we're talking about. What there is an unfair adjustment to people's quality of life. And I'm with you, Nicole, on this. We're not opposites. I have told you, and I have not changed. I'm 100% against them mandating this vaccine. I'm 100% against them making me wear a mask at the gym, right? Which is actually more of a stripping of freedom than even what you're talking about right now in terms of like Kyrie and stuff, because I'm literally having to do something physically that I choose not to do in order to work out this body, which I need to work out at 44 years old in order to stay healthy and move forward with a physical quality of life, right? It's ridiculous based on the numbers and the math for anybody reasonable or logical to look at COVID and say, what's going on in this country is reasonable.
Right.
It is not reasonable. I understand the hysteria initially because this was something like, oh my God, what the hell? People are just dying of this airborne thing. But after a year and a half and almost 2 years now, we literally know the numbers now. We know how it actually affects you. Then anyone who really looks at this reasonably can say, whether you're on the right or the left, red or blue, or any of that bullshit, because I honestly don't love either party and don't love either ideology. If you are down the middle like me and you actually just think and don't try and let either side influence you, then you can see this is so overblown and so about profiteering. It is shameful. It's shameful. So you and I are not on separate pages. We just have a very different look at the potential of what's going on. And I'm simply saying what's going on is what I've always said would go on. They're going to make your life hell. They're gonna do it.
I don't accept it.
And if you don't accept it, I stand right next to you and I say, I'm with you. And whatever you want me to do, if you want to go protest, if you want to hold a sign, I promise I'll drive to wherever you're at and I'll hold a sign right next to you. But I just need for you to say, hey, you were right.
About what?
About this you were right. They were gonna just jack all of us up.
No, well, of course. I never doubted. The only time I doubted you was when on day one you said, oh, this is going to be until next year. And I was like, oh, hell no. And then look at us now, like, no, I don't doubt
2 years
anything.
later,
I don't
almost 2 years
doubt
later.
anything anymore, but the idea that someone like me has to keep pushing it, I think is important. It's why I speak up now so much when I just never did before, because at some point it has to be enough. And you have to, maybe next week we can talk about the new show we're watching. I think about in the show we're watching, this sci-fi show, and where life just looks completely different and they have zero privacy, zero. So what I would call freedom, right? And you would say, well, they have freedom to do what they want, but it's within the system. That's not freedom to me. I mean like free. They have none. I mean, they have this, the people who live for the corporations, they have this great life and they have this money and they have this, but they have no privacy, not right thoughts, everything can be seen by everybody. Like that's when and I was thinking about that. And I was thinking, you know, even when that's reality, people will accept it, right? They will just be like, well, this is just the system and this is the way it is. And we do until we don't. And I got to that point where I just don't anymore. I don't accept it. And I want to work towards what I feel is something better.
So yes, well said. I have a question for you, and I'm not sure I've actually asked you this question on or off stream. And if I have, just indulge me. What is your idea of what real freedom looks like? I'm just curious, like, what does freedom mean to you?
I mean, I have this ideal of, I suppose never at a time. I mean, I shouldn't say never. I don't know if ever at a time we really experienced full on non-confrontational freedom in life, right? Like, you know, every city, every village, every whatever has its issues, just like families, right? But my ideal is what was set forth by our founding fathers, you know, when they drafted the Constitution, and the exact ideal set forth by that, right? And that government is there for infrastructure and to protect a free society, but not to inflict any of you know, mandates for a current usage of words on society. It's there to support its people and society, not to tell a people and a society how to live. To me, again, I just think about the, you know, my dream about the village. When I think about this village, I think we have to get a lot more local to start understanding each other again, so that we can also govern for each other. So one time you had said something about like, you didn't necessarily like state government, but I'm starting to think that maybe we need more of that, honestly. We can see how people are very different in different areas, and that's okay. And maybe we just have to find a better way to govern at state levels and find our people within states, right? Like I'm saying, I'm thinking of moving from California, and maybe that's okay. You know, I think it's finding this comfort throughout, you know, where your people are, and that's great. I just, the biggest thing for me right now is, like I said, these federal mandates I think are unlawful and I think shouldn't happen. I think
Okay,
those.
but I guess I'm looking for more. So let's just go back in time 2 years ago when neither one of us knew what that word COVID even was. Okay. I'm asking you at that point, what is something in this society in America that you feel inhibits a level of freedom for you? So what does your freedom look like outside of the COVID experience? Forget about mandates, COVID, all that crap. I'm talking about Nicole, January 1st, 2019. Are you free at that point?
Honestly, like we talked about earlier, the only time I started to think about it at all or wonder if we were was for the vaccine mandates for the kids at school. Started to make me question, because before that I always thought we were, right? You know, I always thought like, this is a free society. This is, you know, we have this wonderful, amazing society where everything's at our fingertips. And it wasn't until those happened, which and to me are very arbitrary. People will say, well, these save lives. And to me, the more I look at it and the more they add, the more arbitrary, less science behind them, more, and these things are added into society more and more, and not only just added, but mandated, like you have to do them, right? Like that's where I started to question. And that was basically when I didn't even want to send my kids to public school. When I found out about that, I was like, oh God, like why? Most other states still have exemptions. California does not. So I would say before that time, so probably before my children, you know, I thought this world is a perfect world. You know, we can do whatever we want, whenever we want. You have the right to live a shitty life, or you have the right to live a great life, right? Without anyone telling you how you have to live. I mean, people will judge you, but they're not going to make rules about how you have to live and where you can go based on, you know, what you believe or what. Whereas now, starting to see it right now, specifically with these medical mandates, and people who don't think the same as me think it's no big deal. You just get a shot. Who the fuck cares? But to me, it's hindering freedom to society.
So your answer is basically illustrative of why we even argue about the consequence and, you know, mandate and so forth when it comes to COVID, because you and I just have a very different look at the place where we live. Because if you would have asked me on January 1st of 2019 about what real freedom looks like, my answer would in no way, shape, or form be that we are free, because I don't have that same experience in this country that you have. So I'm making it plain for you that is why we see it differently. Because I'm fully aware of the consequences of actions that should be innocuous. Driving through certain neighborhoods, walking through certain stores, you know, how people have treated me on first class flights internationally that I paid $10,000 and $15,000 per ticket for. My look at things is going to be a lot different than yours.
Well,
so
and
I'm really
that
just
maybe that's
trying
it.
to help you see like why, you know, we can argue about the consequences of Kyrie Irving's actions and so forth and so on, because I just have had a much different experience than you. I wish that I could see America and life through the prism of your eyes, because I feel like if I could see it through your eyes, then that would mean we probably all are pretty equal in this society, but that's just not the case. And
we are. We just
COVID,
we
COVID
put all
actually,
this shit in front of ourselves. We do all this, and that's what really makes me mad.
I don't know about we, but somebody has. And COVID really just highlights for America, honestly, the real disparities in economics, social economics, healthcare, geographical existence. Like there's so many different nuances of American living that are being exposed because of COVID, the vaccine, government. It's actually pretty. I can't wait to see all of the books that'll be written in 15 or 20 years from now, when hopefully at least this particular thing will be behind us. We'll be on to something else, because there's always something else. But America's learning a lot about herself because of COVID. A lot.
Well, I think that's some really smart words there. I think that's everything. It's like you said, I don't have your experience, and we all have different lived experiences. We all have different ways that we wake up to what, you know, reality really is. Some of us never do, right? You experienced things a lot younger, right? It made you see things a certain way. Also, I think it made you more comfortable with accepting, like, well, fuck this, fine. This is what I got to do to be with a system. I'm just learning that there is a system now, and I'm upset. You know, I'm very upset. And I think you're absolutely right. You know, once I saw all of this with COVID and the huge disparities in the way it's run versus the way it should be run, you know, considering if you're really supporting and serving your people, right? And I thought at first it was just COVID, but you realize it's not. And that makes you rethink your entire life, right? Everything that you thought you knew about the way. But the worst part about it is that most people don't see it. And so then you feel crazy on top of everything else. So then you're like, wait, what? So yeah, that's the reality I'm living in.
As much as you are a freedom fighter for the cause of freedom here in the United States, I'm equally as passionate about getting out the word that there are several Americas. And those who even think like there are two Americas, I've heard that there's two Americas. No, there are several Americas. And none of them are going to get any better until people actually wake up and realize just how shitty things really are for a good percentage of the people in this country. Do you realize? I don't even know if you realize. I'm sure you realize this. When the vaccine first came out, and you never hear about this anymore, by the way. And I don't know if you ever heard about this more than a week after it was sort of discovered. Wealthy people were jumping the line to get the vaccine. Nobody talks about, like, did anybody get arrested? Did anybody serve any consequence for the fact that, you know, people in their mid-30s who had money and were healthy individuals that just wanted that extra shot at having a longer life or not being affected by COVID, literally were jumping in front of, you know, diabetics, super obese people, all the people that are basically dying, you know, that have died because of COVID. That's what I'm talking about. Those are the different Americas that I'm talking about. That's one example of the different Americas. You're rich.
There's so much
likely white.
disparity. There's so much.
It's
like
just, it's crazy.
even
It's
our
crazy.
legislators who are, you know, at the end of COVID now, and they're still mandating masks, but they're not wearing masks. They'll make a mandate one day, and that very night they'll be at a bar not wearing a mask. You know, this is like the governor of San Francisco or whatever, or mayor or governor, whatever, some woman. She's like, well, the spirit was taking me. I was dancing. How could I wear? Did you see that? Just like, so you see the disparities, and even things like that. When I pointed out, people are like, well, you're paranoid, Nicole. This is, who cares if she did that? I'm like, well, who cares? But my child's wearing a mask 8 hours a day per their mandates, right? So do they think it's important or not? Like, so
So
yeah,
on the other side, right, you have to look at someone like Trump, who just fired all his people up. The vaccine sucks, COVID sucks, government sucks, you know, telling us what to do. But oh, by the way, I got it, and you guys should get it too. He'll say that at his rallies, like, you know, almost in a whisper, and get booed, and
like the
then turn
Biden
around.
whisper.
Yeah, and then turn around and be like, how they're handling the vaccine and the COVID stuff sucks. I see the hypocrisy and the bullshit on both sides. I see it equally. I think both are equally disgusting. And I think the two-party system, this is a whole another conversation, but I think the two-party system in America has long outlived its usefulness. It sucks. It does not represent the majority of the people.
That reminds me, Andrew Yang just changed his
Yeah, he's independent now.
yeah, well, not even independent. What do you call it? It was like, he called it like federal or something. Is that what he called it? Did you see that?
Oh, I thought he just went independent. But yeah, it was like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I just saw that on Twitter. The Forward Party.
And I actually like Andrew Yang a lot, by the way.
Yeah, you know what? I really
Personally.
did like, I hope I can find it. It might be too far down here, but he said exactly what, you know, we've been saying, is that, you know, both sides want the same thing. You know, it's and everyone is turned against each other. And so I was like, you know what? I really appreciate the words he's saying. Well, he has too many tweets, so I'm not going to find it right now. But if you follow him on Twitter. So yeah, again, I think it's becoming clear, the disparity or the division between people with different thoughts and ideas, and that's okay. But to have one ruler for hundreds of millions or billions of people makes it very, very hard. And so I don't know if maybe states do actually need to take a greater role in their governance. And so when you ask about Texas, do I think it's right? No, I don't think they should make mandates over businesses, or, you know, mandates against mandates, or mandates at all, right? But also, I mean, if they're trying to protect their people, maybe it's something that needs to be done. Maybe state roles need to take like bigger role. Like everyone here likes Newsom. I don't, but if this is what the people want, he's giving in to what his constituents they want. Okay. I mean, I guess that makes sense. You know, I just need to find a state where I fit in.
See, I go much further than you even on that, because I think, really, why not just dissolve all the states and it just be one country, right? And we have 10 or 15 representatives that have an equal representation, right, at the top echelon of government. And that way, nobody has any more power than any other person. And everybody, I know it'd be hard to get 10 or 15 people in a room to agree on much of anything, but certainly I think it would be more fair and equitable for the majority of people if more than, you know, So if you had 10 people in a room, basically 6 or 7 are, as we stand right now, 6 or 7 are represented by one person, right? And the other 2 or 3 are just, their voice really just doesn't mean anything. I mean, hell, look at the Supreme Court, right? We have lifetime appointments to this body that literally decides how we're all going to live our lives. Abortion, you know, they're going to eventually overturn Roe v. Wade, which they thought was unthinkable 10 or 15 years ago. There's no way they can overturn Roe versus Wade, but everything is pointing to that now, right? Because guess what? It's a conservative court because one conservative man was able to put 3 or 4 different justices on the Supreme Court. So now someone like me, and I think someone like you who has fairly liberal, societal views, right, are being governed by 6 or 7 people that don't think anything like me at all.
I mean, I think there's like 3 major things that they could do simply. I say simply because it'd be hard and they're not going to want to do it. But like number 1 would be term limits. Number 2 would be campaign finance reform. Huge. Lobbyists, they got to get lobbyists out of there, like 100%.
Corporations are people.
Yes. I mean, it's, and I think when you start doing those few things, I mean, campaign finance reform, of course, no one's going to do it because that's how they're making all their fucking money. But you can reinvent our government if we can start untangling all of that shit.
But it has to be grassroots. It would have to start at the grassroots level with you and I and everybody else coming together to make real change. Right now, and here's where you and I agree 100% especially when it comes to mainstream media, they are literally invested in keeping us all apart. That's why all they do is promote stories and ideas, that we all hate each other. And when you keep telling everyone that you hate this person and you hate this person and this person hates you, then whether you actually came into the room feeling that way, all of a sudden you have this sort of narrative in your head that group A hates me and I'm supposed to hate group B, right? And the mainstream media, to me, is culpable in promoting a huge percentage of the division in this country. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah,
There's no doubt about it. But the politicians love it because as long as we're divided, we're not united in fighting them.
And then they can do whatever they want and make all the money they want. And
Exactly.
yes, that's what I even said about like COVID. Like if we had zero media, would we have ever known about COVID?
Well,
So if we had zero,
know someone in your house got sick, and
even what would we have known it was COVID, or would we thought it was a flu, or what? You right? Like,
so that's actually funny because my mom went to Egypt in December of 2019, right, which was a couple months before we actually discovered that COVID was the thing, even though we know now it was around for months before that. My mom went to Egypt for Christmas for a couple weeks, flew back through New York, which we know now was the full-on epicenter for COVID in America, right? She came home and she was sick as a dog. I mean, my mom was literally like, and my mom is like the healthiest 75-year-old woman on earth. I would put her up against anybody on earth at her age. She came home sick as a dog. And she thought she just had this flu that was just, and she was like, maybe it's my age. Maybe my age is just really like catching up now and all this. 100% my mom had COVID. 100% she had COVID. Why none of us in the house got it at that point? Maybe she had just, because she actually stayed in her hotel room in New York for a few days. So maybe she actually got past the point of transmission and just was still feeling very sick when she finally got on the plane to fly home, but none of us actually got it at that point. But that is a long way of answering your question. If there was no media, there's no way in the world I would have identified my mom had this
but that's what I mean about like even these mandates and stuff. It's like when we actually see it, like something different happening in our society and people are dropping dead on the sidewalk, like they put the picture of the person in China that dropped dead on the sidewalk and that's what started all this, right? You don't need mandates. Like then people are gonna be like, oh fuck, shit, give me a damn vaccine right now. Get it to me. I'm gonna
mandated.
I'm gonna be under my bed. I'm gonna be under my bed
for me.
Bring it to my house. Just bring it right here.
Require me to have it.
Yeah, there won't. Like when life is truly that way. But that's what I mean. Even just like with COVID, like if we never had any news media, which means the government never would have been involved, which means there would never be an incentives to hospitals to treat it, which meant, right, all this trickle down shit, like, so that now COVID's too big to fail. So now they haven't removed any of this stuff. So they still have it, right, in hospitals and whatever. And now we
The
even see,
pharmaceutical companies
and
wouldn't be making
yes,
trillions of dollars.
right. What would have happened?
We would have just figured it out. Like we would have.
We just would have went on with life.
Chicken
Like
soup.
it would have been like 2016, basically. I mean, that's basically what about like, oh, there was something. We got a bad flu for a few months, and
kept it pushing.
If even we would have felt that way, you know, like a lot of people who died with COVID or died with a positive test in the last 30 to 60 days, you know. So it's. But you say this stuff and that's controversial, but that's just the truth of the matter, and that's what's scary about how this system, you know, this COVID system was designed around it. And once you see that, then you see it for everything, you know, like you say, the system for the war on drugs and the system for the, you know, like everything is a system and is designed for people in it. Some people to win and for other people to lose, right? It's designed that way.
It's designed to enrich certain people.
Yes.
That's really what it comes
Which
down to.
Which means that other people are going to be, what's the opposite of enriched, right? Like it's designed to create disparity, right? It's designed that way. It's somebody has to lose in order for somebody to win. And that's
which is the very definition of capitalism.
it's you know, and I don't agree with that necessarily, because in a free market capitalist society, like that's what I say our government really, in a free society, it does. It stays out of your way. It helps with your infrastructure, and it maintains the safety of society, not individual virus safety, the safety of a free society by putting restrictions only when necessary, but to prevent capitalism from
but Nicole, capitalism by definition has to capitalize on someone.
It
right?
sells you what you want.
It might even be the best economic system in the world. I'm not here to argue whether or not capitalism is the devil or whatever. I'm just simply saying that capitalism is also the very reason why the disparity between the rich and the poor grows exponentially every day. Mm-hmm. Right? Literally every day.
Again, I would opine. That's a nice word. Spell opine.
I haven't opined in at least 17 years.
It's not capitalism. It's individual greed. It's greed that does it. Capitalism
itself, but they're able to do it through the mechanism of capitalism.
Yes,
that's the point.
Of course. But I think capitalism, if you think of it like a barter and trade system, it allows us the freest type of society. It's when it gets overrun and when individuals use greed to control it.
You're aware of the principle of eminent domain, right? The government can just
they can take your house or something.
Well, not just your house, but they can literally just take a building downtown LA because for national security purposes, right? So it doesn't have to specifically be like your residence. It's anything they want, and they can prove, don't even really have to prove, but they deem necessary for societal's good. Okay. Let me pose this to you. Imagine if the government took eminent domain over the pharmaceutical companies. What do you think it would look like right now in terms of the whole COVID mandate? Who has to get it? Who doesn't? Let me just answer for you. The whole thing would be 100% different if nobody was profiting trillions of dollars off of a vaccine. Again, I'm not saying whether the vaccine is necessary or not. I think it's useful. I really do think it's useful. But for the purposes of this conversation, the profit off of the vaccine is causing so much irreparable harm that its actual benefit doesn't mean a damn thing. Simply put.
Yeah. I mean, it's just it's a greater part of the system. It's what, what's what developed this system, the COVID system. So like, yeah, and the media, all of it has a role. Like we said, if we never had a TV or a radio starting 2 years ago, for some reason, can't get any news, would we have had COVID? No. Not only that, but you would actually, well, yeah. And I think that's the extenuating circumstances that we're in right now. Like it would have been over by now, right? Like we would have, a novel virus would have hit us, or now we have herd immunity. Now you can look at Sweden and Norway and Denmark, and for those same ideals to understand the numbers, and it would be better because we'd actually have to like talk to our neighbors without being scared of them, and we'd have to talk to people we don't agree with, and we'd have to figure it out. And so I truly believe a lot of our technology is really great. I'm not as down on it as a lot of people are. But at the same time, also, I think we've lost the personal connection that we really need to find a way back to.
You know, I just need one person who has any sort of authority in this whole matter to answer one question for me in the state of California or Los Angeles or whoever made these decisions. How in the world can California have the lowest rate of transmission of any state in the country, and we are getting more restrictive? That's what I just need to know. I need to know, how in the world are you telling us in a month from now? You don't know what's going to happen in a month from now. You're telling us in a month from now that we have to get tighter. You're not even saying it's today or tomorrow. You're telling us in a month from now, we need cards to get into IHOP to get some pancakes.
Burger King.
I'm so confused as to who is making what decision.
Well, and it's just
I don't even think about it anymore. I'm just like, this is so dumb.
It's so dumb. And it's just for LA. So like I was telling Mike offline, is that I live right on the border of Orange County. I'm like, well, I'll be doing everything in Orange County now. You know, it's just so arbitrary. And that's the thing that people don't realize. Well, you're selfish. You're not doing it for your neighbor. It's arbitrary. And when you can just mandate an arbitrary injunction into putting something into my body, then no, I am against it. It doesn't make me selfish. I actually love humanity and I love my neighbors and I'm for them 100%. But like, just to say like, I have to do it because you said, like, yes, I am a rebel in that I don't like to do what you tell me to do, but also just picking up some arbitrary measure and telling me I have to do it. Like, no.
But not only giving us the arbitrary measure, at least tell us, what is your end game?
There's no end game.
Tell me if they told me, hey, November 4th, everybody's going to have to show this vaccine card for 1 month or until January 1st. Honestly, Nicole, I'm at the point where I would say, I don't give a shit. Fine. I'll show the card till January 1st. And then on January 1st, I don't have to wear my mask anymore. And I can go to Disneyland and stand within 1 feet of my kids. Like, I don't get, where are you guys going? Tell us something. Because just telling us November 29th or whatever the hell the date is, we got to show a vaccine card to go to the gym. I need more information. You got to tell me, when is it done?
Again, that's what they can't, because it's arbitrary. And that's where I wasn't meaning to talk about the walkout, which the CEO says is not a walkout of Southwest, even though they lost 1,000 flights on a very nice day. And they said it was to weather. But anyways, that's where change happens. It's going to have to happen with the people. Our government is truly, captured through, corporations, and making arbitrary measures that serve their own pocketbooks, that don't serve the people. And when the people have had enough, which I think that's what they're doing with Southwest, that's how it'll change. Because and then people will say, well, and this is the same kind of question you had of me. Well, can this governor of Texas then now make a mandate against mandates? No, I don't. I believe that's overreach as well. But now the same people who are clamoring for the mandate saying, oh, you have to do it, you're selfish if you don't do it. Now, when these pilots are making their choice and saying, well, fuck you, my freedom is a choice, I'm not going to do it. Now, these same people are upset at these pilots for not flying them to their, super important business meeting. Like, well, you can't have it both ways, right? Like, you told them that they had to do this or leave, and they left. So to me, that's why I say it seems to me that people are very comfortable with mandates as long as they align with what they think is okay, right? And now that pilots perhaps are making a different choice, or anybody it was FAA as well. It's Federal Aviation guys, the guys that look at the
air traffic controllers.
Yes, air traffic controllers. Now that they're like, well, no thanks. Now people are upset because they're saying no thanks, but you can't have it all ways, right? Like, I fight against mandates because it's not the society I want. And I understand personal choice, and I'm making my choice, and I understand there's consequences. But then people who also see it the other way have to understand there's consequences to enforcing mandates as well, right? And somehow we're going to have to find a way to the middle.
So I don't know if you're aware of this, but supposedly on, I guess it's a Monday, October 18th, which I guess would be this coming Monday, there's supposed to be like some nationwide school walkout for grades K through 12.
Ooh.
So
For what? Because of mandates?
Yeah, because of vaccine mandates. So that's what I'm talking about when it comes to the grassroots, like, you know, kids from Los Angeles to Maine are, you know, down to Florida and Texas up to Alaska are supposed to be walking out, you know, in protest. Now, what I think is funny is obviously grades, the younger grades, the K through, let's say, 6th grade, you know, obviously they're not going to get up and walk out of their class unless their teacher actually assists them. So that's what I think will be the most interesting part if this thing actually takes place. Are teachers actually going to be supportive of, you know, the kids? And that will be kind of indicative of how they actually feel about being told they too have to be vaccinated.
Yeah, I mean, there are, I'm sure, a lot of teachers against it as well. Well, I mean, the hypocrisy of all of it is that, you know, the teachers union, Randy Weingarten, the head of the teachers union, doesn't want to mandate it for teachers. She wants to mandate it for the children, but not for the teachers. So again, we could go on this around and around all day long, and it's all ridiculous. And again, it's just all another way for each of us individually to argue about all this stupid shit when it's a system that's created it. And I never understood, like, you know, like, fuck the system, like, yeah, power to the people. Like, now I get it, you know, like, fuck the system, dude. Like, it's all these systems are created to serve whoever created them, and it's not us, and it's not okay.
And see, I've always understood power to the people, but it meant something totally different.
No, it means the same thing. It means the same thing.
No, I'm saying it was being applied. It was, the application was
your
different.
system was different, but in the end, when you look at it, they're all the same systems. They're all the same, built by some rich person or entity at the top that it serves them, and it serves them and it harms them, right? That's every system, no matter what it is. Racism, slavery, capitalism, whatever, right? And they're all the same, and less the people. But we don't realize, though, that we don't have to be here. You know, we actually have the power. We give it to them, but we have to see.
All this week, I've been looking at, you know, plots of land.
Yes. Where are we going? I
mean, right now, kind of looks like Arizona.
I'm okay with Arizona. Actually, Arizona is great because that's the only place that I've officially gotten permission from Tad to go with the kids. Because, you know, I have to work with my ex because I have children, right? Yeah. And his mom is there, so that would be perfect. We'll go a little more north so it's not so hot.
Well, that's where we're looking at, is it in the northern part.
Okay, you tell me when. I'm my car's already packed.
I'll tell you off stream.
Let's build the village. It's happening. We're out of here. Blowing this popsicle stand. Tired of this system.
Order to go ahead.
I just want to. I want to look at this episode, and all of them are indicative of our friendship in a nutshell. We went from arguing and yelling to, all right, we're going to move away together forever. Like that's
these people should have seen us at a poker table when we're actually face to face and we're giving each other like looks and we're angry and we're just like, ugh. And then by the end of the day, it's like, give me a hug. I'll see you tomorrow.
But this is exactly it. This is what we need in the world. Like, understand that you can have differences. You can completely disagree. And then you can also like see the humanity in the other person. And even when you thought you completely disagree, by the end, you're like, oh, wait, you know, I don't really actually disagree as much as I thought. Like, and
that's what I was actually just thinking, by the way, in all seriousness, when you were saying that, is that really when we are yelling at each other and going at each other and all that, we're actually pretty close to the same thought process. We've just actually conveyed our thoughts a little differently. So it might trigger the other person thinking this person's fighting with me. And the reason why I'm illustrating that is because I actually think that's what's happening on a macro level in this country.
100%.
Everyone's yelling at each other, and they're most likely saying something and I'm talking about the reasonable people. I'm not talking about far left, far right, or far racist on either side, or this and that. I'm talking about the majority of people who I think are probably reasonable, are yelling at each other about things that if they actually just brought the temperature down, they're probably saying the same doggone thing.
Mm-hmm.
And and what we like to bring up on this show is the guy who always talks to the Klan people. Can you imagine just how tense that room must be initially when he walks in and they walk in and they get to talking and they think they hate him and he thinks, this is probably like going to be pretty difficult for me because they hate me and da-da-da-da-da.
Well, this is for our viewers.
Let's go watch the football game.
Yeah, this is for our viewers, the Black guy who specifically makes it his life mission to befriend Klansmen, but he'll befriend them one at a time. Imagine like the first time of meeting one, like, what is he? Hi. Like, what do you even say? Like, hi there. Like, how do you even start a conversation?
The Klansman was probably like, he was like,
he just had a burning cross in his hand. Like,
hi.
But
probably started talking about his wife. They were probably both like, oh my God, marriage.
Yeah, they found a way to commiserate. Like, oh, these women, can you believe it?
And by the end, they were probably giving each other a hug. Dude, let's just go have a beer. I feel you. You feel me. That's really, really, really like, it's so easy. It's easy one-on-one. And maybe that's the real trick of all of this is how in the world do you get 375 million people to just relax and let's figure out a common ground. Mm-hmm. I say it's never going to happen. That's why I'm looking at plots of land. But hey,
I don't know if everybody is ever to think that everyone's ever going to agree. No, because we're all so different. But to accept that we're not going to agree is
to respect one another. That's really what it is.
It's personal respect. I think we've lost a lot of that. Again, with the technology age, people were emboldened and keyboard warriors and think it's okay to say stuff, and that just like fosters further like division. But just think about like personal respect and how you would talk to somebody. And some people maybe would say some stuff to people's face. I don't know, but overall, 9
out of 10 people won't say what they say on social media to somebody's face.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes.
No.
But yeah, okay. Well, we did a long show today. I wonder how many people will actually watch this whole show. Did we lose any of your family members after last one talking about them?
I only talked to one family member, so she was mad at you.
Oh, what did I say? Francis was mad at me? What did I say?
I'll share with you offline.
Why?
My mom likes you a lot. My mom likes you a lot, and she has a lot of nice things to say about you.
But not unless.
But she was not. But she is our meter for how people are hearing the show, and she was like, that Nicole Jurgens, and she spelled your last name with a G. I gotta read you this text.
Jurgens.
Yeah, it was Jurgens. I was like, that's awesome, Nicole Jurgens. But yeah, I'll read you the text. But
sorry, viewers, you're not gonna be able to hear this. I'm gonna have to find out on my own.
Yeah, no. Unless Francis Moore gives express permission for me to read it online, and Nicole, of course, Nicole has to approve it as well. Yes, you will never hear private text.
Oh, what a good son. All right. Well, we argued, we came together, we did full circle. I think that's enough for today. For all of our viewers. We'll see you next week.
Maybe we should change the name of the show to Full Circle.
Full Circle.
Highly circled.
Highly uncircumcised circle.
Sort of actually works, right? Anyway.
Common ground. You said common ground. I was like, oh, that would be a good name.
Common ground.
Yeah.
I bet there's a show called Common Ground if you search for it.
I bet there's not one called Highly Uncircumcised.
No.
We're the only one.
Yes.
Okay.
100%.
All right. Enough.
All right.
All right. We'll see you next week.
Bye, Miss Gergens.